So today is a huge day for the channel. If you subscribed already, you'll know that we already have the E82 135i, which we're doing a 1M conversion on, which is now back from the body shop. And long-term subscribers of the channel will also remember that we have a Seat Rosa, fitted with a 1.8 turbo 20 valve and a GT 2871 turbo, making about 360 horsepower. But today is about neither of these cars. Today we are adding a new one to the channel, and this is by far the most expensive car I've bought, the worst condition, and definitely the biggest risk. So we're not going to waste any more time. Let's go and have a look at my brand new, sort of, car. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to my 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage, but as you're about to see, it wasn't quite as simple as that, getting the car in that position. So I bought this Aston Martin from a website which specialises in crash damage cars, and it was sold to me as a non-running, non-driving vehicle. It was placed on the back of the truck at the depot, meaning that it was now our job to get it off. So to do this was not so simple. As you can see, our wheel has seen better days and the car didn't even turn on. It had no ignition at all, so we had to hook up a jumper pack in order to get the steering lock off and get the gearbox into neutral without starting the car.
Stay left. Straight now. Yeah.
So using the winch and a bit of gravity, we managed to get the car into about this position, half on, half off the truck. So what we had to do now was some sketchy stuff. We had to drive the truck forward with the handbrake on the car to make sure the car stays in place and the truck does not. We were then left in the position, once the recovery driver left, where the car was half in and half out of my parents' garage, which is a bit of a nightmare. So what we tried to do was get the car going. Again, using the surge feature on this jump pack, we managed to get the car started and the battery was completely goosed.
There you are. Woo! Yeah, it's just the immobiliser. That was good.
And as you can see, I was pretty happy about that.
That battery pack now, it would just cut the engine and then it would immobilise itself again.
The battery's just gone and then...
Yeah, the battery's collapsed.
So then we had to do some more sketchy stuff. We couldn't get the jack under the front of the car because of the wheel collapsing. That corner of the car was lower than it should have been, so by jacking up the back of the car, it did also bring up the front, meaning we could then slide a McDonald's tray under that half of a wheel. And the idea was, because this car is rear wheel drive, we were going to use the rear wheels to drag the car further into the garage so we could at least shut the door.
Just start it.
Fingers crossed, because this felt super dodgy. So with the jumper pack connected, I dubiously popped the car into reverse and hope for the best. And also may have completely forgotten to take off the handbrake too.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, you can go. You've got to get it past this line. Yeah. Go a bit more. Very slow. There's going to be a big crunk on this thing, got a flash on. Keep going. There's a nice line in the floor in your dad's garage now. More. Reckon I'll do it, yeah.
Okay, so we got the Aston home and got it started, but I can tell there's some of you already which have got something to say. And I can see it coming already, so I may as well address it.
And yes, that's right, me and Matt have both bought crash damaged Aston Martin Vantages in black with red calipers and black wheels. Great, that's nice. But here is the main difference. Even though it may say Aston Martin on Matt's car, when you actually peel away some of the trimmings, what's that? Oh, AMG. That's because it's actually a C63. It's lying.
So in fact, we haven't even bought the same car. But all joking aside, let's be real, there's only so many cars out there that petrol heads will want to own, so it's inevitable that one day those paths are going to cross ever so slightly. So let's just forget about that, move on, and let's concentrate on mine. So I'm now back at my mum and dad's house, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, I'm back with my Aston Martin.
So let's take a walk around the car and see. Let's start actually with a bit about the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, and then we can start looking at the problems with this one.
So this isn't the first Aston Martin Vantage ever made. The first one was actually made in 1972, as I found out on Google, but this is very much a different car.
So this is a two-seater sports / Grand Tour car, and kind of the entry level into the Aston Martin range.
So hopefully you guys agree with me on this, but I believe this is one of the prettiest shaped cars I've ever seen. Proportion-wise, for me, it's bob on. But the Aston Martin Vantage is not all perfect, let's be honest, and the main drawback for me, I think, is a surprising one. And that's because my least favourite part of the car is the engine. So what we have is a 4.3 litre V8 that has been built, hand-built by Mick Moten.
So thanks, Mick. I'm sure you did a brilliant job because it's lasted 15 years, but the problem with this engine is it's only 380 horsepower and it's not a light car. I believe this car weighs around 1.6 tons, and that sort of power in a car of that weight, although it looks beautiful, isn't going to move the quickest.
Aston Martin these days are known for doing V12 engines, so to have a V8 which is naturally aspirated, so has no boost in performance, is a little bit weak, but I can forgive it because when they're working, they sound brilliant.
The Vantage is a two-seater, so you don't get the extra two tiny seats in the back like you would in a DB9, but let's face it anyway, they were a bit pointless.
So inside the car is actually pretty classy, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be straight with you though, a lot of these parts are shared out of other vehicles. I think either Volvos or Fords are where the parts for this era of Aston came from, so you've probably got the vents out of a Transit van, buttons out of a Ford Mondeo, and the sat-nav screen from a daft lorry, who knows. But anyway, it's still actually pretty nice in here. So everything is trimmed properly. You've got leather dash, you've got an Alcantara headlining that you can't see very well. This is quite a nice grey colour, and all red stitching on the leather seats, which are again pretty nice for a Grand Tourer style seat. These are actually, you know, pretty perfect. They hold you in the right places while still being comfy enough, so these are also very nice. Now, one thing which I think couldn't potentially cause a problem is that everything in here is electric, which is great from a luxury point of view, but terrible from a reliability point of view. Even the seat releases to be able to pull the seats forward are electric, the glove box is electric, so it sounds to me like a nightmare waiting to happen.
But going back to the features on this car, we've got an automatic gearbox, which wasn't necessarily my preference, but I don't mind it. I feel like that kind of suits what sort of car this is, so I'm not hating the fact that I haven't got a manual. And to be honest with you, my BMW 1 Series, the 135i, that is a manual, so to have an automatic as well is probably quite a nice switch up. In regards to luxuries, like I said, we've got electric seats, we've got parking sensors front and rear, a heated rear screen, somewhere to put what would have probably fit a Nokia 2210, and also a pouch to store your finger as well. So, you know, there's everything you'd expect in here from a car from 2007. Obviously, we're not going to have Apple CarPlay or anything like that because it just wasn't around in this era of car, but it all looks really, really nice. Even a nice little Aston Martin clock on the radio too, but again, that sounds a bit plasticky.
Now, this car has only got 23,000 miles. That is the lowest mileage car I have ever owned by a long way. So even though it's very low mileage, there's quite a bit of wear on the interior, I'll be honest with you, which might say something about the build quality.
So the first thing you notice when you get in the car is the bolster is showing signs of wear already. It's already worn through.
in areas, which, even though it's not bad considering the age of the car, considering the mileage, 20,000 miles is basically new. And if it was me buying a new car and after 20,000 miles it looked like that, I'd be pretty pissed. But again, we'll forgive it for the age. On the door card, there's a black trim, which I don't even know what's happened here. It looks like the paint's reacted and started falling off. But yeah, that doesn't look the best. But again, a nice easy fix and should easily be tidied up. A bit of a strange one here, but over the top of the Speedo, the trim, the cowling, whatever you'd want to call that, looks like it's started to shrink on itself. So the leather has actually moved up a bit and revealing the plastic underneath, which you don't notice from the driver's seat. You only notice it from here. So I don't know whether I'll ever even bother fixing that unless there is something you can do easy enough to sort it out. But again, just shows the build quality. But these are all quirks of owning, you know, a semi-exotic car. I'm not going to call it a supercar because it's definitely not, but you know, it's that sort of thing. It's, you know, hand built, possibly maybe in a factory, and they're going to have quirks like this. So on to the outside, and what I'm going to start with is the brakes and the wheels. So what we have here is a 7-spoke wheel on this one, and all of these are finished in gloss black with red calipers, which actually is a really nice combo. I'm not normally a fan of black wheels, but it does kind of work on this one for me. The brakes on the front are a 4-piston, so they're okay, you know, probably not the best for stopping a car of this weight, but on the back, we have a 2-piston caliper and then a separate caliper for the handbrake, which I don't know if that's actually any better for functionality, but does look really cool. And while I'm on the subject of the handbrake, I'm just going to show you guys this, because if you aren't familiar with Astons, you won't have seen this. So this is the handbrake off, and if I engage it now, that's it, obviously engaged, but then to allow you to get in the car, it drops straight back down and becomes floppy, which is a really strange thing for, you know, if you're used to just a normal handbrake, and then obviously you lift it back up to its normal point to release it like a normal handbrake. But yeah, it's a weird little thing. Again, I do actually quite like the look of these wheels, but there is one main problem with them for me, bar all the curbing, and that is the fitment. It's just a million miles off. The arch absolutely eats the wheel, and it just doesn't sit fat enough for what I'd like. But let's face it, at the moment, in its current state, that is the least of my worries. Now, one thing that is quite nice with this Aston is that even though it's not the most powerful car in the world, it is still rear-wheel drive, and as petrol heads all know, rear-wheel drive is just better for a sports car or something that you want to have a bit of fun in, and you're not bothered about being the fastest car in the world, but you just want to enjoy rear-wheel drive all the way. Back to the body styling, you've got these beautiful kind of hips on the car, some real nice wide arches which kind of blurge out, is that a word, who knows? Got these real nice vents which give the front end, you know, a bit of something to look at least, and the same on the wings too. I don't know how functional these are, but they look pretty nice. You've got the classic Aston Martin door handle. To use these, you press it in there and pull like that, and you know, I quite like that because it keeps that real nice flush look on the body lines. It doesn't give you a clunky handle in the way and, you know, break up that beautiful shape. And then finally at the back, you've got a nice little ducktail kind of spoiler thing which is going on, almost more of a lip. These classic Aston Martin DB9-esque lights, and then a twin exit tailpipe, one on each side, and well, we'll come back to this later, this is crap. Now you know everything you need to know about the Vantage, let's have a look at the problems that I've got with this one and what we're going to have to do to fix them. So to do this, I'm going to have to open up the garage door again. The lighting in here is awful, I'm sorry about that, but you know, we're not kitted out in here for doing stuff like this or for filming in particular. So, you know, let's focus on the car, let's forget about the filming. Let's see exactly what is up with this one. So this car has been involved in a pretty heavy collision on the driver's side. Well, I say heavy, I'll strip it back a bit more in the future and show you properly, but let's run through the parts it's damaged. So the front bumper has obviously taken a fair old hit and is now pretty much scrap. It's also damaged the wheel arch lining with it, which is, again, not too big a problem, but the headlight is absolutely, well, that's about all that's left of it. So, you know, that's going to be a fun one to replace. Next up, the wing. You can see here something has poked its way all the way through, and also caused a bit of damage to the bonnet here, which I didn't realise in the photos from the auction, which is a real shame. I thought we got away with that, but unfortunately not. The grille, again, most of this is actually okay until you get to this outer edge where there's a dent in each and every one of the fins on the grille, which I don't think is going to be worth repairing, to be honest with you, and it is a bit loose. Also as well, some absolute waste of sperm has stolen my Aston Martin badge from the front, and not only that, has stolen them both out of the door shuts, there should be a plaque here saying Aston Martin, built by Jerome Phillips, or whoever it is. And they have stolen those badges from my car, which I'm absolutely furious about. But anyway, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure I have bigger problems on my plate right now. And nextly, it kind of looks like the car's sunk into the floor, and that's because this wheel is possibly the worst wheel that I've ever seen in my life. It snapped 3 out of 7 spokes and then split on the back as well. I don't even want to put my hand in here in case the car falls on it, but you can see here, well, you know, you can see everything. It's not looking good. Now, it is actually pretty hard to see in here because of the state of the wheel, but the wheel actually turns itself, so I don't think there's anything too badly damaged in the steering rack or anything there. And I suppose we won't ever see until we get this wheel off and, well, definitely get it replaced, because there is no saving that. I don't care how skilled you are, that should not go back on the road. So anyway, yeah, we definitely need to get everything underneath looked at and have a proper check out of what's going on there. But, you know, we'll see. I haven't got high hopes, but it's a possibility that everything's okay.
So obviously this car's been in a crash, but I think we need to look a bit deeper and assess the damage to see what we think's actually happened, and then that'll give us an indication of other things to look at that may also be damaged. So
in my unprofessional opinion, I think the car has gone up a curb, causing the damage to the wheel here. So I think that's the only thing really which could wipe out the alloy and do that to it. You know, going into a ditch or anything like that, I don't think could cause this much damage, but the sudden shock of a curb smashing into the wheel could definitely do something like this. So I think it's gone up a curb and then gone into a post of some sort, which has gone at this sort of angle. Luckily, it has dodged the chassis leg, which is here, so this is all still nice and straight. It has also dodged this crash bar and kind of front end mounting bracket here too. So luckily that is all still solid, but unluckily it has wiped out everything in its path. So I think the posts come at this sort of angle. It could be a lamp post or a street sign, something like that, and fell like this here and just tapped there onto the bonnet, causing a dent, which I'm sure you can imagine a bonnet on an Aston Martin is never ever going to be cheap, so that is really unlucky. And obviously it's wiped out some other bits around it too, but I think that is what's happened to it, which, you know, I think it could have hit in worse places if I'm being honest with you, so I'm not actually too annoyed.
And let's face it, it's a bit of a godsend that it's to the side of the car. Even though it's wiped out our headlights, there's much worse stuff it could have hit in the middle of the car, which could have caused much more catastrophic damage. So I think it's pretty safe to say that my Aston Martin isn't the prettiest car in the world, but I'm not the prettiest guy in the world, so who am I to judge? Now, I'll be honest, I think I got a bit of a steal on this car, and I think you guys will agree too, but I'm not going to tell you. 1,000 likes on this video and I'll tell you in the next one. You smashed the last one, so let's see you smash this one. I think now it's time to start doing some work on the car and start stripping it apart and seeing how bad the damage actually is on this car, but that's going to have to wait until next time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss out on anything on the Aston Martin. Make sure you like the video, and I'll catch you in the next video when we start work on this car.